Give me some of your time and I'll help you see your weakness for what it really is. Not because I'll give you motivation or fill your ears with empty inspiration, but because you'll realize that what you've been calling weakness is actually an illusion, a story you've told yourself so often that you've convinced yourself it's your personality. If you're willing to listen closely and sit through the discomfort, I will speak to the parts of you that you've kept hidden, and something in you will shift. It won't be a better version of you, but the version that was always there, waiting for the moment you stopped protecting it. Nietzsche didn't believe in comforting the weak. He wrote for the ones who were ready to confront the violence of life with eyes wide open. The ones who were tired of lying to themselves. The ones who realized that nothing is coming to save them and finally decided to stop waiting. If you've reached that point, if you've had enough of the fear, the passivity, the apologies, and the emotional inflation that has softened you into invisibility, then this is your beginning, not your transformation. Your return to strength, which was never outside you. It was simply buried under layers of self-doubt, societal conditioning, and the addiction to comfort. So, let's start with a question. What does it mean to be weak? Most people think weakness is emotional expression, but NZA would tell you otherwise. Weakness isn't about feeling things deeply, it's about not taking action. But Nietzsche would argue that weakness isn't just about expressing emotions. It's about submitting to them. It's about needing permission. It's about outsourcing your validation to others who don't even understand themselves. It's about choosing peace over truth. It's about lying about what you want to avoid judgment. It's about calling your laziness self-care, your fear humility, and your insecurity empathy. Weakness isn't the absence of strength. It's the presence of self-betrayal. And the sad truth is, the modern world is designed to make you weak. Your education taught you to follow rules. Your culture taught you to conform. Your media feeds you a sense of helplessness disguised as awareness. And even the people who claim to love you often benefit from your softness, your silence, and your hesitation. So they encourage it. They praise your selflessness. They reward your passivity. They applaud your restraint. They praise your passivity. They admire your restraint. But it's not because it's good for you, but because it keeps you small, predictable, dependent, and forgettable. Nietzsche saw this. He saw how society shapes you into a tamed version of yourself. And he said, the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. He didn't mean struggle physically. He meant struggle psychologically. The struggle to stay true to your instincts when the world demands you suppress them. The struggle to remain dangerous, not violent, not chaotic, but dangerous in a world that wants you polite, polished, and obedient. And so the first step in breaking free from your weakness is to recognize that you've been conditioned to mistake weakness for virtue. To think that saying no is impolite. That asserting your boundaries is selfish. That choosing yourself is egotistical. But nature turns this on its head. He says that true strength, the kind that makes you powerful, respected, remembered, comes from rejecting the herd mentality, rejecting safety, rejecting the need to be liked. So, who are you without the need to be liked? Not just hypothetically, but actually. Strip away your masks. Stop censoring yourself. Remove your masks. Speak your truth. If no one expected you to be polite, agreeable, humble, or passive, who would you be? What would you say? What would you demand? What would you walk away from? Most people can't answer that because they've built their entire identity on pleasing others, on seeking validation. They don't have a true self. They have a persona, a facade designed to fit in, to survive. And Nietzsche despised that. He saw it as the destruction of the human spirit. Because the moment you stop being authentic, the moment you start suppressing your true feelings to fit a mold, you've already lost your power. But you feel that already, don't you? That nagging sense of injustice, that seething anger, that exhaustion that doesn't subside with rest, that's not burnout. That's the price of conformity. The price of living in a way that stifles your deepest instincts just to maintain a peaceful exterior. So Nietzsche would tell you now, you were not meant to be complacent. You were not meant to be accommodating. You were not meant to always yield to others' expectations. You weren't born to be a pushover. You weren't born to fold every time someone raises an eyebrow. You were born to stand tall, to embody something fierce, something primal, not chaotic, but unwavering, not reckless, but invincible. And the reason you feel weak is because you've suppressed that part of you for so long. You've convinced yourself it doesn't exist, but it does. It's time to dig it out. Let's talk about your habits. Because weakness thrives in routine and subtle daily rituals that slowly erode your resolve while making you believe you're doing okay. Nietzsche said, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded." You wake up and check your phone. Already you've lost. Not because phones are bad, but because you've given up control of the day. You scroll, you compare, you envy, and then you rationalize. You say it's harmless. But every time you act before you think, you weaken the muscle of self-mastery. You claim it's harmless, but every time you act before you think, you weaken your sense of self-control. You become emotionally soft. You lose focus. You lose confidence. So let's change that. Start taking ownership of your mornings before you check your phone. Sit up straight. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that you are not just a consumer, but a creator, a builder, a strategist, and your energy is not available to machines the moment you open your eyes. Next, speech. Your weakness shows up in the way you speak, in how you water yourself down to make others comfortable, and how you speak softly so they won't feel threatened, and how you say, "I don't know," when you don't, and how you apologize for things that don't require an apology. You're giving away your power. And they can sense it. That's why they don't listen to you. That's why they talk over you. That's why they underestimate you. NZ didn't whisper. He spoke with fire and he expected you to do the same. NZ didn't speak softly. He wrote with passion and expected you to do the same. Not to be loud, but to be clear. Clarity is power. Clarity makes people listen. If your message isn't clear yet, then you need to work on it. Not because you're flawed, but because you've been hiding. Stop hiding. Speak up confidently. Don't apologize or explain. Let the silence after you speak carry weight. Most people are afraid of silence. You won't be, because silence means tension. And tension is how respect is earned. Now let's talk about emotion. You think strength means being emotionless. That's a misconception. That's unhealthy. That's not right. That's dysfunctional. Nietzsche didn't teach emotional numbness. He taught emotional mastery. That means you can feel everything and still make a conscious decision. You don't react impulsively, you respond thoughtfully. When someone disrespects you, you don't get angry. You don't chase after them. You don't defend yourself. You simply observe. You wait. And when you take action, it's deliberate. It's precise. It's surgical. That's true strength. Weakness, on the other hand, is being emotional without control. Strength is being emotional while maintaining control. So stop saying, "I'm just an emotional person." That's not true. You're just undisciplined. That's not true. You're just lazy. Discipline isn't harsh. It's organized. It's focused. It's the difference between crying out of sadness and crying with purpose. The first makes you feel helpless. The second makes you feel empowered. And speaking of helplessness, Nietzsche despised it. He saw it as the modern form of oppression, not physical oppression, emotional oppression, the need to blame, to wait for rescue, to justify stagnation with trauma. He didn't deny pain. He denied complacency. So here's what you do. You stop telling your story like a pity party. You stop using your traumas as an excuse. You stop using your pain to manipulate others. You start turning it into strength. Because here's the truth. No one remembers what happened to you. Not really. No one truly cares about what happened to you. They're more concerned with what you become because of it. If you can rise above your circumstances and become someone strong, resilient, and unwavering, then your past will only serve to make you even stronger. As Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But here's the catch, your why isn't something that happens to you, it's something you choose. You don't wait for it to come to you, you actively decide it and make it a part of your daily life. And the moment you do, you'll start to feel a sense of clarity and purpose. You'll know exactly where you're going and what you want to achieve. So go ahead and decide right now. What do you want to be known for? What legacy do you want to leave behind? What is your purpose? What do you create? What do you defend? What will you never tolerate again? Make it clear. Make it written. And make it unyielding. Because if you don't define your why, the world will give you one. And it will be weak. It will be uninspiring. It will keep you complacent, impoverished, and insignificant. But that's not your destiny. Not anymore. Because by the time this is over, you will be a different person. And now we will delve deeper. We will explore your inner world. We will break down the patterns that hold you back. And we will help you rediscover the true version of yourself. The one that has always been there, waiting to be released. You've come this far. The true version of you, the one that doesn't need fixing, is about to be unleashed. You've made it this far, which means you're different from most people. Most people can't handle someone touching their vulnerabilities. They flinch, click away, or chase another dopamine hit. They pretend they already know this. But you're still here, and that means something inside you is starting to awaken. Something old, raw, and buried. Nietzsche didn't just write about power. He wrote about what makes men afraid of it. Weakness isn't just physical or mental. It's existential. It's rooted in the stories we've accepted, the definitions we've inherited, the quiet agreements we made with fear before we even knew what fear was, and one of the deepest roots of weakness, the fear of being alone. Let's talk about that. Your whole life has been about trying to fit in. Let's discuss this. Throughout your life, you've been taught to seek approval and acceptance from others. In school, they taught you to raise your hand for permission. Your friends trained you to stay within the group. Your family taught you to hide what's uncomfortable. Your relationships taught you to be agreeable, non-confrontational, and soft-spoken. And as a result, you became addicted to acceptance, not love. The kind of passive, dead inclusion that requires you to shrink, silence, and conform just to be accepted. But Nietzsche would look you in the eye and say that in order to truly know yourself, you must be willing to stand alone completely. Because the truth is that belonging comes at a cost, and most people pay it with their authenticity, their strength, and their individuality. But not you. Not anymore. You're going to break free from the addiction to belonging. You're going to become someone who doesn't seek approval from others. You're going to create your own path. And if no one joins you, that's okay. More space, more clarity, more room for growth. That's the first step. Solitude over submission. Now, let's dive deeper. Solitude over submission. Let's dive deeper. What's the root of your procrastination, self-sabotage, and delaying of things that benefit you? Most people attribute it to laziness, but it's more than that. It's a deep-seated loyalty, an unspoken agreement you've made with yourself to stay small and avoid making others uncomfortable. Somewhere in your past, you learned that shining too brightly led to people pulling away. You learned that power came with distance, honesty with punishment, and ambition with loneliness. So you adapted. You learned how to hide, how to delay, how to talk yourself out of your own momentum just to keep things safe. That's not laziness. That's survival. But it's time to break this agreement because you're not here to be tolerated. You're here to be felt. And that requires intensity, decisiveness, and the kind of clarity that makes most people uneasy. As Nietzsche said, the snake which cannot cast its skin must die. It's time to shed the old skin, and do it brutally. You've been holding on to it out of fear of losing who you are. But now it's time to rip it off. This means letting go of people-pleasing, second-guessing, overthinking, and emotional translating. It's time to get tactical. Start by being clear in your language. When you say, "I don't know," you reinforce uncertainty. When you say, "maybe," instead of "no," you fracture your own integrity. When you apologize for existing, interrupting, or needing anything, you cut away at your own spine. Speak clearly and don't soften, don't qualify, and don't filter. People will call you rude, but let them. This is the only way to move forward. People may call you arrogant. Let them. That's just a reaction from those who are used to you playing small. And you're done with that. Now it's time to work on your body. Weakness often shows itself in how we carry ourselves, our posture, the way we move, and even how we breathe. Most people live in a state of prey, with slumped shoulders, downcast eyes, and shallow breaths. You can tell a lot about someone by the way they carry themselves. But now it's time for you to change that. Stand tall, with your shoulders back and your head held high. Walk confidently, with your head up and your eyes meeting the world. Sit up straight, with your back against the chair and your feet flat on the ground. Every room you enter, you take charge. Not by force, but by presence. Presence comes from knowing who you are and standing up for what you believe in. So ask yourself, what do I believe in so deeply that I would walk away from anything that doesn't honor it? Write it down. Carry it with you. Live by it. Embrace it. Let it be your driving force. Let it shape your actions and decisions. Now, let's move on to something else. The victim mindset. Nietzsche saw this modern trend of glorifying suffering as a trap. He believed that when you focus too much on your pain or personality, you become addicted to weakness. You become attached to your struggle. You find your identity in it. But here's the truth. No one cares about how you survived. They care about what you accomplished because of it. And if all you accomplished was bitterness, anxiety, and fragility, then you let your story define you. So, rewrite it. Don't say you're a trauma survivor. Say you're a resilient person. Don't say you were abused. Say you overcame it. Don't say you have anxiety. Say you're a confident and strong individual. If I become unreachable, don't say I have anxiety. Instead, say I own my stillness. Words are spells, so speak power or remain silent. Now, let's end this because you already know everything I said. Deep down, the real you, the grounded, clear, calm, dominant version, was listening to every word and nodding. You remember what strength feels like, what clarity feels like, what it feels like to move without apology, to protect your energy like a king guards his land. To walk away from conversations that diminish you. To say no with conviction. To say yes only to the things that empower you. To sit in silence and not feel the need to fill it. That's not motivation. That's home. You're back. But here's the twist. You can't unknow this. You can't go back to being the version of you who made excuses, who procrastinated, who broke promises to yourself. Because now you know better. And when you know better, you either evolve or you lie. You've gained knowledge, so you have a choice to either grow or deceive. Choose to be the man Nietzsche would admire, not the loudest, richest, or most praised, but the most authentic, someone who looks in the mirror and sees nothing but confidence. This is now your standard. Protect it as if your life depends on it, because it does.